Welcome back. It's now 9:24. The King Center is preparing to kick off activities to honor Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Joining us this morning, as she always does, as we approach this anniversary, is the Reverend Bernice King. It's great to see you again this year.
You as well.
Every year, this event seems to get bigger and better.
Yes.
You've got activities that have already started.
Yes. Well, actually, yes, somewhat.
Somewhat. Tell me a little bit about something special that's going to be happening this weekend.
This weekend is extremely special. Tomorrow at Ebenezer Baptist Church Assembly Hall, we're having a dialogue that will be very balanced and very depthful on race. It's called The Race Factor: The Truth, the Lies, the Myths. And we will have someone who's a member of a former hate group, Goldie Taylor, who is a news contributor. We will be having as well Governor Bob Elrick from Maryland, former governor. We will be having, I'm trying to remember, Tim Wise,
yes,
who's an anti-racist educator dealing with the white privilege issue.
You know, it's interesting because Fox 5, of course, has been such a big partner with the big commemoration on the 19th every year. This year, it seems to me, with everything that's happened in Ferguson, Missouri, with what happened in New York with the police officers, do you feel that there's an added emphasis on race relations and what your father stood for?
Exactly, and it should have been all along until we really get rid of it. And that's why we're having this dialogue. It's the beginning, it's not the answer. We will be covering, obviously, the bigger topic of truth, lies, and myths, or the race factor, whether, you know, the history of it, the whole white privilege issue, the systemic issues. But we also will be having an in-depth discussion about police brutality and law enforcement. Some of the folks that have been involved in the protesters, El Lucier will be there. Mary Pat Hector, a young man from St. Louis, who's one of the activists there. We also will be having a young man, interestingly, a white PhD candidate who has been suffered at the hands of police brutality.
Right.
So we have some very interesting individuals, police officers. Dr. Cedric Alexander will be there as well. And this will be a time not just to hear from them, but also for the audience to be at round tables to have discussions about all of this and, you know, come away with some things that we can begin to do as a community, individually and collectively, to really deal with race. And that's the objective. And it starts at 10 at Ebenezer. And on Sunday, I'm really excited about our book signing. It's going to be a discussion first and foremost, followed by a book signing with a group called the Friendship Nine and Dr. Cornel West. People don't know Friendship Nine, but let me say this real quickly. This group is really responsible in the movement during the sit-ins for the notion of jail, no bail. They decided not to take the bail to serve time in jail, and it became a new strategy to spread around the sit-in movement. Well, they served their time, were convicted, obviously. A young lady came to our summer camp this past year, in 2014, should I say, and an adult. She wrote a book on them, and she left there because we studied in depth Dr. King's writings, the letter from the Birmingham jail in particular, where it talks about just laws.
Right.
She went and talked to the solicitor in South Carolina about trying to find a way to vacate their sentences.
Wow.
He's going to do it. They're going to do it.
How
They're going back to court.
Right.
The judge who is going to be in the case that day is the nephew of the judge who was the sitting judge when they were convicted. The gentleman who represented them is coming back in court as well. Wow. And so these gentlemen will have their records vacated in a dignified way, so that also the sacrifice and the courage that they made is also honored in the process.
Speaking of sacrifice and courage, it's portrayed in the new movie Selma.
It is.
You know, you can't talk about the civil rights movement without talking about Selma. Tell me a little bit about what your thoughts are on the film and, you know, the role that your father played.
He was very instrumental, as we know, not just as a spokesperson, but someone who would refuse not to be on the front line in many instances with the people.
Right.
He was not a leader from afar. So he's very instrumental. His nonviolent philosophy was very
Of course.
essential. But the movie, I believe, it's a good Hollywood movie.
Okay.
We have to understand they're documentaries and they're Hollywood movies. And Hollywood movies, as we know, we don't expect them to tell the facts, but we do expect them to bring the story to life. And I think Ava did an incredible job in bringing this story to life about a time period that was so pivotal in our nation's history. There's some things there that I think are questionable in terms of what is actually factual. And I know different people have spoken about that, but my hat's off because I know when the initial script came out years ago, it was very salacious and would have been very insulting to the dignity of those people who served this movement. And she did an incredible job in terms of making sure that it was a more dignified script.
So you feel the message that the film sends is more important
Exactly.
than
Now,
some of the liberties that perhaps Hollywood took
exactly, and
with the
especially
facts.
some of my parents'
Right,
relationship.
yes.
I questioned some of that, especially
Okay.
from my mother's perspective, because I talk with my mother.
Right.
But nonetheless, I think the story is there, and I think it's going to be very inspirational.
Well,
so
we
look
thank
forward
you,
to it.
as always, for coming in to visit with us here on Fox 5.
Thank
Dr.
you.
King, appreciate it. For more information on all the scheduled events at the King Center for the 29th celebration commemorating Dr. King's 86th birthday, hard to believe, 86. You can log on to myfoxatlanta.com, click on the Scene on Good Day tab, and just a reminder that Fox 5 will be airing the annual commemorative service January 19th at 10 a.m. The time